On the third anniversary of the marriage that made me a trophy husband, my CEO wife, Victoria Sterling, finally slapped the divorce papers on the table. She pointed to the man standing by the door, dressed in a crisp white shirt and black slacks, with an aura so pristine he looked like he'd just descended from the Swiss Alps, and gave me her ultimatum. Julian is back. Sign this. Here's $5 million. Get out of the Sterling family. I looked at the man she spoke of, her sacred and untouchable one that got away, and figured, what the hell? I signed the papers without a fight, with only one condition. Tori, before I go, let me have one meeting with this god-tier specimen. I need to know what I'm up against. Victoria agreed with a look of pure disgust. A month later, when she excitedly called to ask her perfect man out on a date, Julian Vance replied over the phone in a newly acquired Texas drawl. Sorry, darling. Can't tonight. Me and my boy Jake Miller are hitting the spa for a deep tissue massage and some steam. It's going to be epic. Today was our third wedding anniversary. I've been in the kitchen all afternoon, apron on, whipping up a feast of all of Victoria's favorite dishes. The door opened. She was home, dressed in a sharp power suit, her face etched with its usual impenetrable frost. A man followed her inside. He wore a white shirt and black pants, his presence so refined it felt out of place in a home that actually smelled of, well, home. He was Julian Vance, the white moonlight Victoria had been sighing about for 3 years. A cold smirk played on my lips as I untied my apron. You're back. Dinner's almost ready. Victoria didn't even glance at the dining table. She pulled a file from her briefcase and slammed it onto the coffee table in front of me. Jake, sign it. Divorce papers. Next to them, a bank card. There's $5 million in there. Enough to keep you comfortable for the rest of your life. Take the money and get out of the Sterling house. Her voice was devoid of any warmth. My mother-in-law, her mother, descended the stairs, a cruel smile plastered on her face. Victoria, you've finally come to your senses. How could a good-for-nothing like him ever be worthy of you? The son-in-law of the Sterling family can only be a man of Julian's caliber. She pointed at Julian, her eyes shining with unconcealed approval. Julian just stood there, a slight frown on his face, clearly uncomfortable with the unfolding drama. Victoria took a step closer, her eyes boring into mine. Marrying you 3 years ago was nothing more than a foolish decision my father made on his deathbed. Now it's time to set things right. My chest tightened. 3 years of devotion, worthless in her eyes. I did her laundry. I cooked her meals. When her stomach acted up, I learned to make every kind of soothing soup imaginable. When she came home drunk, I was the one who carried her inside, wiped her face, and made sure she drank water. Now a single phrase, set things right, was meant to erase it all. I looked at the papers, then at Victoria's resolute face. Everyone expected me to get angry, to cling, to beg her, to stay like some pathetic clown. I didn't. I picked up the pen from the table, unnervingly calm. I'll sign. Both Victoria and her mother were stunned. The barrage of insults they had prepared died in their throats. I uncapped the pen, but didn't write just yet. My gaze traveled past Victoria, landing on Julian, who stood behind her. But I have one condition. Victoria's brow furrowed with impatience. You want more money? I laughed. No need. The severance package is more than generous. I pointed at Julian. The divorce is fine, but you have to set up a dinner for me and this prince. I need to see for myself what kind of man has you willing to pay $5 million just to kick me to the curb. The request was so bizarre that it left everyone in the room speechless. Victoria's face went pale with anger. Jake, don't push your luck. Just one dinner. After that, I'll sign and disappear. Otherwise, I leaned back, crossing my legs with the defiant air of a man with nothing to lose. I might just decide I like being married after all. Julian finally looked at me properly, his clear eyes filled with pure, unadulterated confusion. He couldn't seem to grasp why a man on the verge of being thrown out could so calmly make such a demand. My mother-in-law shrieked, "Are you threatening us?" I ignored her, my eyes fixed on Victoria. Her chest heaved with fury, but in the end, she bit out a single word through clenched teeth. Fine. I smiled, satisfied. With a few quick strokes, I signed my name on the agreement. After blowing on the still wet ink, I pushed it across the table to her. Then I stood up, walked over to Julian, and extended my hand, a roguish grin on my face. Hey, the name's Jake Miller, Victoria's soon-to-be ex-husband, and the speed bump you just cleared on your road to success. Glad to get out of your way. Julian hesitated for a second before shaking my hand politely. I leaned in close, speaking in a voice only he and I could hear. Buddy, you have no idea what you're getting into. Victoria was ruthlessly efficient. The next day, she sent me the restaurant details. 7 o'clock. Aria, the revolving restaurant on the top floor. A warning followed. After dinner, I expect you to honor your promise and disappear forever. I chuckled at the screen. So, typically her. Even the farewell dinner had to be at the most exclusive place in town, a final act of charity, bestowing one last shred of dignity upon me. I tapped my phone, forwarding the location directly to Julian. Then, I sent him a voice message. Julian, my man, tonight's on me. I'm going to introduce you to our most authentic local cuisine, let you feel the real soul of this country. Next, I changed the restaurant location to Big Mike's Rib Shack, a dive bar 20 miles outside the city center. With that done, I replied to Victoria. First time back in the States in a while. Julian needs a real American welcome. That fancy stuff is too cold, bad juju. The other end was silent for a full 5 minutes. Then, a string of angry ellipses appeared, followed by a single word. Fine. I knew she wouldn't show, which was exactly what I wanted. At 6:50 p.m., I was sitting on a greasy plastic stool at Big Mike's, wearing shorts and flip-flops, when a black Bentley pulled up to the curb. The door opened, and Julian emerged, dressed in a perfectly tailored, high-end custom suit. He stood on the dusty roadside, staring at the burly guys at the next table arm wrestling and the thick smell of hickory smoke in the air. He was completely frozen. His expression was that of a saint who had accidentally wandered into a den of sinners. I waved at him enthusiastically. Bro, over here. He walked over with stiff, mechanical steps. He eyed the plastic stool in front of me for a long moment before pinching the hem of his suit jacket with 2 fingers and gingerly sitting down. You would have thought he was sitting on a bed of nails. Mr. Miller, are we eating here? Call me Jake. I clapped him on the shoulder, heartily. Don't be a stranger. This is what I was talking about. The soul of the country. What do you think? Soulful enough for you? A muscle in Julian's jaw twitched. He said nothing. I grabbed a menu, didn't even ask him, and just yelled at the owner. Mike, 2 dozen of your spiciest wings, a platter of chili cheese fries, and 2 large pitchers of your cheapest beer. The color drained from Julian's face. Jake, I don't drink, and I don't eat this. What kind of man doesn't eat wings? This is rocket fuel for guys, man. I grabbed a beer bottle, popped the cap with my teeth, and slid in front of him. Come on, to new friends. Chug it. He recoiled in horror, waving his hands frantically. I'm serious. I'm allergic. I didn't push it. I poured myself a glass, downed it in one go, and let out a satisfied sigh. The guys at the next table were getting hammered, shirts off, roaring as they arm wrestled. Come on, you got this. Put him down. Julian flinched, nearly dropping his bottle of mineral water. I calmly passed him a chili cheese fry. Don't worry, it's just a local symphony. You'll get used to it. Here, have something cheesy, it'll calm your nerves. Julian watched me expertly peel garlic, demolish wings, and chug beer. His expression slowly shifted from guarded and repulsed to something more analytical. He looked like an anthropologist observing a previously undiscovered tribe. I started spouting philosophical nonsense. You see these wings, my friend? They seem simple, but they hold the secrets of the universe. The spicy sauce is the fire. The meat is the earth. The fusion of the elements creates a perfect harmony. It's cosmic. And this beer, golden liquid white foam, isn't it just like life? Mostly bitter, with a few fleeting, sweet bubbles that vanish in an instant. It's the human condition in a glass. Julian was completely captivated, a flicker of genuine curiosity in his eyes. Over the course of the meal, I waxed poetic, talking about everything from the history of buffalo wings to the art of fermentation, from the rules of arm wrestling to the philosophy of human connection. Julian went from being stiff and reserved to actually taking notes on his phone. When dinner ended, I added him on WhatsApp. Bro, keep in touch. I'll show you more of life's profound truths. He looked at me and spoke on his own initiative for the first time, his tone laced with uncertainty. You're not quite what Victoria described. Oh, what did she say about me? She said you were a pathetic loser who only knew how to leech off her family. I burst out laughing. She's not wrong. But even losers have their fun, and even gods have their troubles. Right, bro? I save his contact info as pristine bottled water, needs contaminating. Watching his Bentley disappear down the road, I felt fantastic. I ordered another round of beers. I scrolled through Julian's Instagram feed. It was all pictures of him at the Vienna State Opera, the Louvre, or sharing classical music and modern poetry I couldn't make heads or tails of. It could all be summed up in one word: boring. His life was as bland as a glass of water. I decided it needed a little spice. I sent him a text. Bro, you free this weekend? I'm going to take you to experience the raw power of contemporary popular vocal arts. He replied instantly. Is it an opera or a concert? I texted back. Even better, it's a participatory performance art piece. He was immediately intrigued. Okay, I'm in. On Saturday night, I set the location for Starlight Karaoke, the hottest spot in the city. Julian clearly misunderstood the assignment. When he showed up in a full tuxedo, the hostesses at the door thought he was there to rob the place. He stared at the flashing disco ball and the giant screen in our private room, once again lost in a state of bewilderment. Jake, this is the performance art venue. You bet it is. I pulled him in and pointed at the music video on screen. Look at that. A perfect synthesis of sound and light. So powerful. I ordered a mountain of fruit platters and snacks, then picked up a dice cup and shook it in front of him. Ever played Liar's Dice, bro? Loser chugs a bottle of iced tea. Julian was completely out of his element. He didn't even know how many sides a die had and fell for every one of my bluffs, losing a dozen rounds in a row. He clutched a half-gallon jug of iced tea, chugging it down until he let out a thunderous burp, his face beet red. He was as pure as a blank sheet of paper. I cleared my throat and selected a power ballad, Bon Jovi's Livin' on a Prayer. Whoa, we're halfway there. WHOAOH, Livin' on a Prayer. I screamed in a microphone, veins popping on my neck, a true monster of rock. Julian sat in the corner, his expression like someone forced to listen to the whispers of Cthulhu. He was practically petrified. After that song, I figured he was properly tenderized. I switched gears and put on a classic bro country anthem. As the music started, I shoved the other microphone into his hand and clapped him on the shoulder with deep emotion. We've had our share of beers and our share of tears. We've been through it all, and we're still standing tall. I belted it out, getting right in his face, my eyes wide. Sing, bro. Let all out. Maybe it was my sincerity that moved him, or maybe it was the gallon of iced tea. The innocent Julian Vance actually held the microphone and, following the lyrics on the screen, began to haltingly sing along. His pitch was somewhere in Siberia, but his expression was more serious than I'd ever seen it. You're my brother. You're my friend. When the song ended, I led the applause. Yes, so much feeling. Bro, you're a natural rock star. Julian's face was slightly flushed, whether from the effort or embarrassment, I couldn't tell. It was nearly 1 a.m. when we left the karaoke bar. For the first time, Julian asked me a question. Jake, can we experience this vocal art again sometime? I slapped my chest. Of course. Next time, I'll show you something even more intense. My relationship with Julian began to develop at a bizarrely rapid pace. We went to internet cafes for all-night gaming sessions, ate spicy hot pot from street vendors, and played King of Fighters at the arcade. I taught him internet slang like pond and big yikes, and he taught me how to tell the difference between a Monet and a Manet. We became the most mismatched and the most solid pair of friends. Victoria finally sensed something was wrong. She called me, her voice as cold as a winter wind. Jake, I'm warning you, stay away from Julian. Don't infect him with your low-class habits. I was in the middle of a 5-man LAN party with Julian. I put her on speaker. Ex-wife, you can't say that. It's not low-class. It's called experiencing life. Your precious prince was about to ascend to another plane of existence from sheer boredom. I'm just pulling him back down to earth. It's a public service. Julian's voice came through from the other side of the room. Victoria, Jake's right. I think my life is much more interesting now. Victoria fell silent. I could practically picture her, seething with a rage she had nowhere to direct. After she hung up, I verbally agreed. Fine, I'll stay away from him. Then I immediately sent Julian a text. Bro, tomorrow I'm taking you to experience a pleasure fit for an ancient emperor. Julian replied instantly. What is it? I wrote back. A top-tier traditional wellness spa. You're gonna love it. The next day, I took Julian to the most luxurious spa in the city. The opulent, gold leaf decor left him speechless. Jake, this place is... Don't ask. Just relax. I booked the most expensive private suite for two. 2 beautiful technicians in silk robes came in. Julian and I each laid back on a plush recliner, our feet soaking in steaming wooden tubs. As the technicians' expert hands worked on the soles of my feet, I hummed a happy tune. Julian was stiff at first, his body as rigid as a board. But soon, under the technician's massage, he let out a sigh of pure bliss, melting into the recliner. His face was a mask of shock and awe, like a man who had just discovered a new world. Just then, the door to the suite was thrown open with a bang. Victoria stood in the doorway, her face a thundercloud, with my sharp-tongued mother-in-law right behind her. They'd obviously used her phone to track our location. Victoria took in the scene, her body trembling with rage as she pointed a finger at me. Jake, what the hell do you think you're doing? You brought Julian to a place like this. Her mother started screeching. You shameless parasite. You're corrupting Julian. I lazily opened one and cleaned out my ear. Calm down, ex-wife. We're engaging in reflexology therapy to promote blood circulation and well-being. Why is your mind so dirty? Julian, frowning, sat up. He looked at Victoria with unprecedented seriousness. Victoria, you're biased against Jake. He's teaching me how to live. I think my insomnia might finally be cured tonight. That sentence was more devastating than any defense I could have offered. Victoria looked like she'd been struck by lightning. She froze. She tried to step forward to pull Julian away. Julian, come with me. Don't let him fool you. But Julian just looked at her, confused, and even pulled his feet back a little. Why would I leave? The technician said my liver meridian is blocked. She's not finished. Besides, I think Jake is a true friend. His world is a lot more interesting than yours. True friend? Interesting. Those two words, coming from Julian's mouth, hit Victoria with the force of a nuclear bomb. The pure, flawless ideal she had placed on a pedestal was, at this moment, rejecting her for a foot massage. Her entire worldview shattered. I watched her look of utter devastation, feeling a deep, satisfying sense of victory. I yelled to the still stunned technician, "Hey, don't stop. Upgrade him to the Emperor's package. The works. It's on me." I shot a defiant look at Victoria. Let the ex-wife see what real class looks like. My mother-in-law clutched her chest, looking like she was about to have a stroke. Victoria stared at me, her eyes burning with a hatred so intense she looked like she wanted to eat me alive. But beneath the fury, I saw something else. The first flicker of panic and regret. I knew my counterattack had officially begun. Victoria finally realized things had spiraled completely out of her control. She thought I'd take the money and quietly disappear, leaving her and her perfect man to live happily ever after. Instead, not only did I not disappear, I had turned her perfect man into my best friend. She was starting to panic. For the first time ever, she asked me to dinner. The location was the French restaurant where I had proposed to her. Soft lighting, a gentle violin melody, the same table by the window. She wasn't wearing a power suit today, but a white dress. She had on light makeup, trying to cultivate an air of gentleness. "Jake, we need to talk." For the first time, she lowered her defenses, even pouring me a glass of red wine herself. I was wrong about things in the past. We were married, after all. There's no need for things to be so ugly between us. I cut into my medium-rare steak without looking up. "Oh, really? I forgot." My tone was as flat as if I were discussing the weather. Right now, all I can think about is my buddy Julian's health. The doctor said his system is out of whack. He needs to take better care of himself. Victoria's face stiffened instantly. She took a deep breath, clearly fighting for control. "Jake, we haven't officially finalized the divorce. Legally, you're still my husband. Could you please?" I cut her off, holding up my phone. "Shit, don't talk." Right in front of her, I opened my chat with Julian and held down the voice message button. Let's go, let's go. You have to. All-night gaming session. We're climbing ranks. Go grab us a spot. I'm on my way." My voice was just loud enough for the surrounding tables to hear. Victoria stared at me, dumbfounded by this seamless series of actions. Her carefully constructed attempt at a truce had been utterly demolished by an invitation to an internet cafe. She watched me, saw the complete lack of attachment in my eyes, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of panic and helplessness in those perpetually cold, arrogant eyes of hers. She fell silent, her gaze distant, as if she were remembering something. Perhaps she was remembering the last 3 years, all the little things I did for her, the things she had always taken for granted and even scorned. Compared to my current indifference and distance, she was finally getting a taste of regret. I finished the last bite of my steak, wiped my mouth with a napkin, and stood up. I got the check. After all, we were married. I put on my jacket, ready to leave. Don't ask me out again. I wouldn't want my best friend to get the wrong idea. I turned and walked away, leaving her with a view of my retreating back. Victoria sat alone in the restaurant, staring at the gaming team-up link I had just sent to Julian. I knew her composure had finally cracked. Finding she couldn't get through to me, Victoria turned her attention to Julian. She naively believed that she could simply swoop in and rescue her pure, perfect man from a lowlife like me. She found Julian and put on a display of heartfelt concern. "Julian, what kind of spell has Jay cast on you? He's an uncultured, tasteless hooligan. Hanging out with him will only drag you down." I wasn't there, of course. Julian recounted all of this to me later, word for word. Apparently, after hearing her out, Julian gave her a look of utter confusion. He retorted with complete seriousness, "Victoria, you're wrong. Jake has shown me the true meaning of life. Before, I only knew about high art. Now I know that lowbrow fun can be just as joyful. Victoria was so angry she could have spit blood. What could he possibly teach you? How to play video games? Or how to hang out in those disgusting places? Julian shook his head, his expression as grave as if he were delivering an academic lecture. No, he's very cultured. He taught me how to play Genshin Impact. He gave me a detailed breakdown of the historical backgrounds and character relationships of the 7 nations of Teyvat. The scale of its world building and the tightness of its logic are far more interesting than the classical histories I studied in Europe. Victoria was petrified. She couldn't imagine a PhD in classical art history being obsessed with an anime-style game, let alone analyzing it so earnestly. Unwilling to give up, she tried to reawaken Julian's refined soul. Julian, there's a world-class piano recital in town this weekend. I bought tickets. Let's go together. She thought this was a surefire move. After all, this was Julian's world. To her shock, Julian refused without a second thought. Can't, Victoria. This weekend, Jake and I are going to Comic-Con to cosplay. Cos. Play. Victoria thought she had misheard. Yeah. Julian's eyes sparkled with excitement. He's going as Zhongli, and I'm going as Xiao. He said with a father-son duo. When we stand there, we're going to get swarmed by girls wanting to take pictures. Victoria felt like the top of her head was about to blow off from the sheer volume of this information. Her proud, untouchable prince of the arts was going to a comic book convention dressed as a video game character, in a so-called father-son duo. She grabbed his arm in desperation, her voice almost an accusation. Julian, you were never like this. Tell me, what did you even like about me in the first place? She was trying to use their shared past to bring him back. It is her last resort. The question stumped Julian. He thought about it for a long, long time, so long that Victoria's heart sank to the floor. Then he answered honestly, I used to think you were very quiet, like a painting, beautiful to look at from a distance. A flicker of hope ignited in Victoria's eyes. But now I feel. Julian paused, then stated it as a simple fact. You're not as vibrant as Jake. The final blow. The man she herself had placed on a pedestal had just delivered the cruelest, most fatal wound. She let go of his arm, stumbling back a few steps in shock. Later, Julian told me Victoria had run away in tears. After hearing the story, I silently opened the game and gifted Julian the newest skin for his character, Xiao. This guy was a real one. When it mattered, he delivered. My social climbing mother-in-law, upon discovering that her daughter's relationship with Julian was going nowhere while mine was flourishing, finally decided she couldn't stand by any longer. She found out I'd gotten a job as a copywriter at a small agency and immediately leveraged her family's connections. One phone call to my boss was all it took. Half an hour later, I was in the manager's office. Jake, we're restructuring. I'm afraid your position is being eliminated. You can see HR to get your final paycheck. The manager looked pained. I knew exactly what was going on. I didn't say a word, just packed my things and left. The moment I stepped out of the building, my ex-mother-in-law called, her voice dripping with undisguised triumph and contempt. See, Jake, you're nothing without the Sterling family. I suggest you get smart, take the money, and get the hell out of town. Stop bothering Victoria and Julian. I leaned against a railing on the street and shrugged. Ma'am, why are you going to all this trouble? I wasn't planning on bothering anyone. Still acting tough. I'm telling you, as long as I'm around, you won't find a decent job in this entire city. She hung up viciously. I looked at my phone, sighed, and immediately sent a voice message to Julian, my voice filled with sorrow and defeat. Man, I lost my job. Looks like I won't be able to afford to take you for massages anymore. I even managed a few choked sobs. Julian replied almost instantly, his voice frantic. What? What happened? Who did this? I laid it on thick, giving him the whole story, conveniently leaving out his future mother-in-law's name and just saying I'd pissed off someone powerful. It's fine, bro. Worst case, I'll just go back to my hometown and become a farmer. It just sucks that I probably won't get to see you again. After sending that, I turned off my phone, bought a Coke, and sat on a bench watching people go by. I knew my secret weapon, the pure-hearted Julian, was about to be deployed. The next day, I was woken from a deep sleep by a barrage of phone calls. It was my old boss. His voice was on the verge of tears. Mr. Miller, sir, I'm so sorry. I was a blind fool. Please, I'm begging you, come back to work. I was completely bewildered. Then, another call came from an unknown number. The man on the line identified himself as the executive assistant to the CEO of Vance Corporation, saying that Chairman Vance wanted to see me. Vance Corporation? Wasn't that Julian's family company? The undisputed titan of commerce in the city. The Sterling family was nothing in comparison. Filled with confusion, I went to meet Julian's father. The legendary tycoon, a man I'd only ever seen on the cover of business magazines, grabbed my hand the moment he saw me. Mr. Miller, thank you. I can't thank you enough. He was shaking my hand so hard my head was spinning. Mr. Vance, what is all this? My son Julian, he used to be like a monk, no interest in anything. We were so worried about him. But you're the one who finally made him seem human. Chairman Vance had tears in his eyes. I heard you lost your job. Unacceptable. You're a great benefactor to the Vance family. He handed me a letter of employment on the spot. Vance Corporation, Culture and Entertainment Division, Special Consultant. Annual salary, $1 million. Mr. Miller, from now on, you're Julian's official lifestyle coach. Your only job is to hang out with him. Whatever makes him happy, you do it. The company will cover all expenses. I stared at the gold embossed letter, completely stunned. This was unexpected, but the best was yet to come. I heard that a massive, 9-figure project my ex-mother-in-law's company had invested in was suddenly and unilaterally canceled by Vance Corp yesterday. Her company's stock had plummeted, and they were on the verge of bankruptcy. She was probably tearing her hair out right now. I took the employment letter and drove straight to the Sterling mansion to pick up the last of my things. Victoria and her mother were both home, their faces grim. I casually pulled out the letter and waved it in front of them. Sorry, Mrs. Sterling, ex-wife. It seems I'm doing much better without the Sterling family after all. My ex-mother-in-law looked at the $1 million salary on the letter, thought about her own collapsing company, and her eyes rolled back in her head. She almost fainted from sheer rage. Victoria just stared at me, her expression a maelstrom of conflicting emotions. After moving out, I truly let loose, earning a 7-figure salary from Vance Corp to be the Crown Prince's professional best friend. Life was good. Victoria was getting desperate. She started trying to win me back in the most clumsy, awkward ways. She found out I liked spicy food, so she cooked a massive Szechuan feast, sent me a picture, and asked me to come home for dinner. I was just about to head out when a flashy red Ferrari cut me off. The window rolled down to reveal Julian's excited face. Bro, get in. I found a hole-in-the-wall spot that serves authentic, super funky ramen. It's insane. Without a moment's hesitation, I got in Julian's car and gave him a thumbs up. My man, you get me. I posted a picture of the two of us to my Instagram story, featuring the bowl of glistening, chili oil-drenched ramen. The caption read, "The best meal in the world is always the next one." I had blocked Victoria, but I knew Julian hadn't. I heard later that Victoria sat alone at that table of food until after midnight. Undeterred, she found out I was into gaming expos recently. She managed to get 2 VIP tickets, dressed up in a trendy, youthful outfit, and waited for me at the entrance, planning a surprise. The surprise was on her. She waited and waited, only to see Julian and me walk out of the convention center, arm in arm, wearing matching Pikachu t-shirts and happily eating ice cream cones. When Julian saw her, he even gave her a cheerful wave. Victoria, you came too. Too bad the tickets are all sold out. But hey, no worries. I'll get Jay to livestream his next tour for you. The color drained from Victoria's face. She stared at our identical t-shirts, her eyes like poisoned daggers. She failed and failed and failed again. This time, Victoria went all out. She pulled some strings and bought a limited edition Patek Philippe watch, having it delivered to my office. The card read, "I didn't know how to appreciate you then. I hope you like this." It was the same watch I had wanted for years, one she'd never been willing to buy for me. Now here it was. I accepted it. Then I immediately listed it on eBay. The title was simple and brutal. Gift from the ex-wife. Bad mojo. Selling for cash to take my bro to the spa. The price was set at 50% off retail. A minute later, a notification popped up. The listing had been liked. The person who liked it was Julian Vance. Not only did he like it, he left a comment. "I support this. I'll pay for half the spa day. Emperor's package on me." I was drinking water when I saw the comment and sprayed it all over my desk. Victoria must have seen it too. That night, her best friend texted me to say Victoria had locked herself in her room and cried all night. I looked at the eBay listing at Julian's shining comment, and I thought to myself, having a god-tier romantic rival as your best friend is the absolute best. The Vance family held a massive dinner party to celebrate Julian's return to the living. As the man of the hour, I was, of course, the guest of honor. Victoria, as the daughter of a family friend, was also invited. At the party, Julian's uncles and cousins toasted me one by one. They looked at me like I was a living saint. "Jake, the Vance family owes you one. This kid used to be a block of wood. Thank God for you." I was 3 sheets of the wind, my tongue feeling thick and clumsy. Halfway through the party, Julian helped me out to the balcony for some fresh air. He handed me a cup of tea. "Jake, you okay?" I waved him off, leaning against the railing and looking out at the city lights. The alcohol was hitting hard, and words I kept locked away for years started to slip out. You know why I agreed to marry into the Sterling family, bro? Julian shook his head. I let out a bitter laugh, my voice tinged with melancholy. Everyone thought I was a gold digger, a worthless freeloader, including Victoria and her mother. The truth is, my dad used to be her dad's driver. Julian froze. Years ago, Mr. Sterling was driving with my dad on a business trip when they got into a horrific car accident. My dad saved his life, but he was killed, pinned by the steering wheel. Mr. Sterling survived, but he was consumed by guilt. He told me he'd take care of me, like his own son from then on. Later, he got sick too. Before he passed away, he held my hand and made me promise to marry Victoria, to stay with the family, so he could know I'd be looked after forever. I agreed, not for the money, but to honor his final promise. But after he died, everyone in the family forgot. Her mother saw me as a burden, a jinx. Keeping me around as a trophy husband was, to her, an act of supreme charity. For 3 years, I put up with their insults and their scorn, all to repay a debt of gratitude and keep a promise. I don't know the Sterling family anything, and I certainly don't owe Victoria anything. After I finished, I let out a long breath, as if a massive weight had been lifted from my shoulders. So this is what they meant by in vino veritas. I didn't notice a figure in a white dress standing in the shadows nearby, who had been there for a long, long time. Victoria had heard everything. She covered her mouth, her body racked with tremors, tears streaming down her face like broken pearls. Only now did she understand. My 3 years of silent endurance weren't because of weakness or greed, but for a promise she herself had long forgotten. She thought back on her own behavior over the past 3 years, the contempt, the insults, the cold, dismissive glances. Now, those memories became sharp blades, carving into her heart. Regret, like a tidal wave, completely drowned her. Julian was silent for a long time after I finished my story. He walked over, clapped me hard on the back, his eyes more resolute and sincere than I'd ever seen them. Brother, from now on, I'm your family. I looked at him and smiled. My eyes, however, were a little wet. Turns out, a true friend really can be worth more than 1,000 loves. The city's annual charity business gala was a who's who of the elite. As a special consultant for Vance Corporation, I attended with Julian, getting my first taste of the limelight. Many people recognized me as the disgraced husband kicked out by the Sterling family. But now, standing next to the heir of the Vance fortune, their expressions of contempt had morphed into fawning smiles. The hypocrisy was laughable. Halfway through the evening, the lights dimmed, and a single spotlight landed on me. I was in the middle of enjoying a plate of salmon and was blinded by the glare. Victoria, wearing a stunning black evening gown and flawless makeup, walked slowly toward me through the crowd. Her appearance caused a stir throughout the hall. Everyone knew about our divorce, and they knew about the drama between the Sterling and Vance families. What was she doing? She stopped in front of me. In front of everyone, with tears welling in her eyes, she reached out her hand to me. Her voice trembled with a hint of a plea. Jake, give me one more chance. Let's go home. The room was dead silent. Every eye was on us, waiting for the climax of the year's biggest soap opera. I looked at her face, twisted with regret, and felt no thrill of revenge, only a profound sense of peace. Just as I was about to refuse, another figure squeezed between us, shattering the dramatic tension. It was Julian. He was holding 2 Nintendo Switch controllers, completely oblivious to the high-stakes emotional showdown, and offered one to me with childlike innocence. Jake, the new fighting game just dropped. Want to go home and play? His eyes were sparkling, like a kid waiting for candy. A pleading ex-wife, or a new best friend who wants to play video games. A symbol of a painful, complicated past, or one of a simple, happy present. Everyone held their breath. Across the room, Victoria's mother's lips were white with rage. I looked at Victoria's outstretched hand, then at the game controller in Julian's. I smiled. I didn't take Victoria's hand. Instead, I took the blue controller from Julian. I tossed it lightly in my palm. Then, I turned to Victoria and said, Victoria, let's just leave the past in the past. Right now, I just want to play video games. Then, I turned to Victoria and said, Victoria, let's just leave the past in the past. Right now, I just want to play video games. Victoria's hand was left hanging in the air. The color drained from her face, leaving it ashen. I turned, slung my arm around Julian's shoulders, and we walked toward the exit. Let's go, man. I'm totally gonna smoke your Iori with my Chun-Li tonight. No way. My Iori is unbeatable. We left the entire gala, and Victoria, with the image of our two gleeful, retreating backs. I knew in that moment that the tangled mess of my 3 years with Victoria was finally, truly over. And my life was just beginning. I thought that after my public rejection, Victoria would finally give up. I underestimated her resolve. The next day, I logged on to play a game and was flooded with system notifications. A new player with the ID V_Sterling was gifting me skins like crazy. From legendary to epic, she bought a new outfit for every single character on my roster that didn't have one. I clicked on her profile. Her bio read, "Looking for a partner to carry me." Me. I wanted to try the new hot pot place that opened near my office. As I got downstairs, 2 cars screeched to a halt on either side of me. On my left was Julian's Ferrari. He rolled down the window. "Bro, I know a place with the freshest tripe in the city. Let's go." On my right was Victoria's Maserati. She also rolled down her window, her expression a little awkward. That place. I've already booked the entire restaurant. I was caught in the middle, feeling the heat of their competing gazes. I looked tormented on the outside, but on the inside, I was cackling. So this is what it feels like to be an emperor? I organized a basketball game with my colleagues. During a break, Victoria showed up on the sidelines in a brand new Nike tracksuit, carrying a case of water. She clumsily twisted open a bottle and handed it to me with an eager-to-please smile. Even though she played like a penguin learning to walk, the gesture was... I didn't even have time to be touched. Julian's call came through. "Bro, stop playing. Get to the arena now. I bought the city's pro team. They're here to practice with you." I wondered if my ex-mother-in-law knew that the Ice Queen daughter and perfect son-in-law she was so proud of were now fighting over the useless freeloader she despised most, doing all sorts of undignified things. If she did, would she faint again? I was so tired of the two of them that I finally laid down the law. "You guys have to stop fighting over me," I squeaked, mimicking a dramatic TV heroine. "If you want to ask me out, fine. But first, you have to team up with me in a game and win." And so, a strange new sight appeared in the city's business circles. The aloof Ice Queen CEO, Victoria Sterling, and the otherworldly artist, Julian Vance, could be found late every night in a private room at the city's most high-end esports cafe. One was diligently practicing as a support character, the other as a jungler. They even hired a coach, one of the top 10 players in the country, all for the chance to win a dinner date with me. I looked at the match history screenshots they sent me, along with their pathetic pleas to hang out. A feeling of unprecedented satisfaction washed over me. If only they'd acted this way sooner. Finally, on a familiar evening, I invited both Victoria and Julian out. The location was Big Mike's Rib Shack, the same place where we had our first summit. This time, Victoria wasn't wearing a designer suit or a dress, but simple casual clothes. She could even pop a beer cap with her teeth and pour one for herself like a pro. Julian was wearing an apron, dutifully helping me grill wings, muttering to himself. Jake said they need to be cooked medium, with a hint of pink inside, for maximum flavor. I looked at this bizarre yet harmonious scene and smiled. Victoria raised her beer bottle, her gaze serious and fixed on me. "Jake, I'm sorry." She apologized for the 3 years of neglect and hurt. "I know it's too late for words, and I'm not asking you to forgive me right away. But could you give me a chance to pursue you again?" She had completely humbled herself, her eyes filled with sincerity. Julian nodded emphatically from his side, his mouth full of grilled eggplant. "Yeah," he mumbled. "Jake, you gotta make her work for it. She was awful to you. I think she needs to woo you for at least 3 years, cook for you, wash your feet every day. Then she might barely pass." Victoria shot Julian a death glare. He shrank back innocently and went back to eating. I picked up a freshly grilled jalapeno popper and, mimicking my actions from that first night, offered it to Victoria. She looked at the greasy, cheesy pepper and hesitated, just like Julian had. Then she took it. She closed her eyes and took a big bite. The spicy heat exploded in her mouth, so intense it made her eyes water. I looked at her and said softly, "Victoria, you want to win me back? Fine. Let's start by finishing this meal together." Under the night sky, the lights of the city strip mall were warm and bright. The 3 of us raised our beers and gently clinked them together. Reflected in the bottles were 3 new smiles, and a future filled with infinite possibilities. As for how that future would turn out, who knew? All that mattered was that now I was the one in charge, and that was enough.